I traded respect for approval and almost lost my marriage.
I used to think love was unbreakable, something so solid that a few careless words couldn't possibly shake it. I was so wrong. Now I see how easily I traded respect for a moment of approval, how I let the sound of strangers' laughter become more important than the quiet, steady devotion waiting for me at home. The damage wasn't one big explosion. It was a slow burn. A series of small choices that felt harmless at the time. When I married Daniel, I felt a sense of safety I'd never known. He wasn't loud or flashy, but he was consistent. He remembered the small details others forgot. He noticed when I was overwhelmed, and his love was shown in simple, steady actions. Our life wasn't glamorous, but it was warm. I honestly believe that kind of love would always be enough for me. Everything changed when I started my new job. The office was this high-energy, competitive place where everyone seemed to thrive on attention. I wanted to fit in so badly. I wanted to feel impressive. At first, it was just listening to their stories, laughing along, staying out a little later. But then, one evening after a successful presentation, someone asked about my husband. I hesitated, and in that split second, I made a choice that would change everything. Instead of talking about Daniel's kindness or his unwavering support, I made a joke. I painted his routines as boring, his habits as ridiculous. The laughter was immediate, and with it came this strange, addictive rush. For a fleeting moment, I felt admired. That feeling completely drowned out the quiet voice of guilt trying to warn me. The jokes didn't stop there. They became a part of my work persona. Every laugh pushed me to exaggerate more, to twist something loving into something laughable. I told myself it didn't matter because Daniel would never know. What I failed to see was that every joke was creating distance, not just between us, but between the person I was becoming and the person I used to be. At home, Daniel sensed something was off. He tried to reach me in his gentle way, cooking my favorite meals, planning quiet evenings, asking if I was okay. I just deflected with distractions and excuses. I was physically there but emotionally miles away, already half living in a world where outside approval mattered more than honesty. The night it all came crashing down, I was at a work gathering, telling one of my usual stories. I didn't see Daniel walk in. He'd come to surprise me, to take me out for dinner. Instead, he arrived just in time to hear me turn him into a punchline for my colleagues. When our eyes met across the room, the laughter around me just faded into nothing. The damage was done. He didn't shout or argue, he just left. That silence hurt more than any words ever could. When I finally got home, his absence felt heavier than the apartment ever had. A few of his things were gone. The space where he used to be was just unbearable. Days went by with no answers. I replayed every single moment, every joke, every laugh I had chosen over his dignity. I realized far too late that I had been mocking the one person who had never once made me feel small, and the people I had tried so hard to impress. They didn't check on me. Their laughter was never loyalty. When Daniel finally reached out, he said he needed time. That space forced me to confront myself. I started therapy not to win him back, but because I didn't recognize the person I had become. I learned how deeply I depended on external validation, how uncomfortable I was with quiet love because it didn't feel earned. I started rebuilding myself, piece by piece, without an audience. Weeks turned into months. I changed departments at work and stepped away from the culture that fed my worst impulses. I filled my time with things that required patience and care, not applause. Slowly, I started to feel grounded again. When Daniel agreed to meet me, it wasn't a fairy tale reunion. It was two people sitting with a mountain of pain between them. I listened as he spoke about the humiliation and betrayal, about how trust had cracked in places he didn't know how to repair. I didn't defend myself. I just owned every word I had used to diminish him. He didn't promise forgiveness. He only said he saw the effort, and that was enough to keep me going. Rebuilding our life wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. It was conversations without distractions, apologies without expectations, learning to sit with discomfort instead of covering it with humor. Trust returned slowly, not because I begged for it, but because I finally stopped performing and started being honest. We didn't go back to who we were before. That version of us was gone forever. But we built something new, something more intentional. Respect became something I guarded fiercely, not because I feared losing him, but because I finally understood its true value. I learned that love isn't proven by how loudly you talk about it, but by how carefully you protect it when no one is watching. The worst thing wasn't him finding out. The worst thing was realizing how close I came to losing something real for something so fake. And that lesson, as painful as it was, changed me forever.